Now, I want you to imagine a warm summer evening in America. Let's say it's 1970. The sun is dipping low, kids are riding bikes barefoot down the street, and somewhere in the distance you can hear the rumble of a big, proud engine rolling down Main Street. Back then, life felt simpler. If you walked into a car dealership with $3,500 in your pocket, oh honey, you weren't worried. You weren't stressed. You weren't calculating loans and interest rates like folks do today. No, sir. You walked in with a smile, maybe a little swagger, and you walked out with a brand new muscle car, shiny, loud, and full of dreams. There was a young boy, let's call him Tommy. Tommy worked 2 jobs, one at the local diner flipping burgers and another pumping gas after school. His hands smelled like grease and gasoline, and his dreams, oh, they were bigger than the open road. By the end of the year, Tommy had saved enough, and one bright Saturday morning, he bought himself a car. Big engine, loud exhaust, and paint that gleamed like the sun itself. That car wasn't just metal and wheels. It was freedom. It was pride. It was America. Now listen closely, because this is where the story changes. Those cars, they were cheap, yes, but they weren't built to last. Oh no, they rusted faster than an old tin bucket left in the rain. If a car made it to 100,000 miles, folks talked about it like it was a miracle sent from heaven. Tommy didn't know it yet, but that beautiful machine he loved so much, it had an expiration date. Then one year, everything changed. It was 1973, and it felt like someone flipped a switch on the whole country. Gas prices, once cheap as a loaf of bread, suddenly shot up. People lined up for fuel like it was gold. Tempers fled. Worry settled into homes like an uninvited guest. Tommy still had his big, powerful car, but now it drank fuel like a man lost in the desert. Every trip hurt his wallet. Every mile felt heavier. And just like that, his dreams started turning into a burden. People began to change. They stopped chasing power and started chasing efficiency. Smaller cars, once ignored, became treasures. Imagine that. A modest little car that barely made a sound suddenly became smarter than those roaring giants. Folks realized something important, child. It's not what you pay up front that matters. It's what you keep paying every single day. Now, the mid-1970s, oh, those were confusing times. Prices kept going up, but life didn't feel any better. Your dollar didn't stretch the way it used to. Cars got more expensive, not just because companies wanted more money, but because rules changed. New safety laws, new pollution controls. Good things, yes. Cleaner air, safer roads, but they came with a cost, and people felt it. By now, Tommy's once beautiful car, well, it wasn't so beautiful anymore. Rust crept in like quiet regret. Repairs piled up, and the truth became impossible to ignore. That cheap car had cost him more than he ever expected. Now here's the part that always makes me smile. While new cars were getting expensive, old cars, those powerful beasts from the mid-60s, were being sold for almost nothing. Nobody wanted them. Too thirsty, too impractical. Teenagers bought them for a few $100s, drove them hard, didn't think twice. And today, those same cars are worth a fortune. Isn't that funny? What one generation calls junk, another one calls treasure. So, what's the lesson in all this? Well, life has a way of teaching us things we don't expect. The 1970s taught people that cheap don't always mean affordable, bigger don't always mean better, and sometimes the real cost of something is hidden beneath the surface. Tommy learned it the hard way, but he also learned something else. A car isn't just about getting from one place to another. It's about the times you live through, the choices you make, and how the world around you can change faster than you ever imagined. Now, when you look at cars today, expensive, yes, but reliable, long-lasting, efficient. You might think the past had it better, but oh, sweetheart, every time has its blessings and its burdens. Now come a little closer. If you had lived back then, would you have chosen the loud, powerful dream or the quiet, practical future? That's the kind of question life keeps asking us over and over again. Thank you so much for subscribing to Moment We Remember. It truly means the world to have you here, sharing these stories, memories, and little pieces of the past with us. You're not just a subscriber, you're part of this journey now, and I can't wait to bring you more moments worth remembering. Moon. Now, before you go running off, sit just a moment longer, will you? Oh, I'd love to. Let's stretch that story out a little more, make it richer, deeper, like those long evenings where no one wants the story to end. Moon. Now, where were we? Yes, Tommy and his beautiful car. You see, after Tommy bought that shiny machine in 1970, life felt wide open. Every Friday night he'd pick up his friends, roll down the windows, and cruise through town like the world belonged to them. There was a girl, too. There's always a girl in stories like this. Her name was Sarah. She loved that car, not because it was fast, but because of how Tommy smiled when he drove it. They'd park near the edge of town, where the streetlights faded and the stars took over, talking about dreams that felt bigger than the sky. Back then, gas was so cheap they never even thought about it. Driving wasn't a decision, it was freedom. By 1973, things didn't feel the same anymore. Tommy noticed it first at the gas station. The lines were longer. People weren't joking around like they used to. There was tension in the air, quiet but heavy. One evening, he pulled up to fill his tank and just stared at the price. It didn't make sense. How can it cost this much? He muttered. The man at the next pump just shook his head and said, "Times are changing, kid." And that was the first time Tommy felt it, that uneasy feeling that the world he knew was slipping away. Driving wasn't fun anymore. Every mile felt like money burning. Those long night drives with Sarah became shorter, then fewer, then almost none at all. One night, she asked softly, "Why don't we go out like we used to?" Tommy didn't answer right away, because how do you explain that something so simple suddenly feels expensive? By 1975, that once beautiful car had started to change. Little things at first, a strange noise from the engine, paint losing its shine, rust creeping in around the edges. Tommy tried to fix it, he really did, but parts cost money, gas cost money, life cost money, and slowly that car stopped being a dream and started becoming a responsibility. Around that time, Tommy saw something he never expected, a small, quiet car at a dealership. Nothing flashy, nothing powerful, but it promised something his car couldn't anymore. 30 miles per gallon. He stood there for a long time, staring at it. It felt like choosing between who he used to be and who he needed to become. Selling that old car wasn't easy, not because of the money, he barely got anything for it, but because of what it meant. Every scratch held a memory, every mile carried a story. As the new owner drove it away, Tommy stood there, hands in his pockets, feeling like he had just said goodbye to a part of himself. The new car was fine. It got him where he needed to go. It saved him money. It made sense. But it didn't make his heart race. Still, life moved on. Tommy got a steady job, Sarah stayed by his side, and the world kept changing faster than anyone expected. Now, here's the part that makes folks shake their heads. Years later, decades later, Tommy saw a car at an auction. Bright, restored, beautiful. It looked familiar, and then it hit him. It was the same kind of car he once owned, the one he sold for almost nothing. That car? It was now worth more money than he ever imagined. He just chuckled softly and said, "Well, ain't that something?" You see, sweetheart, life isn't just about prices going up and down. It's about moments. Back then, people thought they were buying cars, but really they were buying freedom, youth, late-night drives, memories that never rust. The 1970s weren't just about cheap cars or expensive gas. They were about a time when everything changed and people had to change with it. Sometimes, on a quiet night, if you hear the distant rumble of an old engine, that's not just a car, that's a memory still driving somewhere out there. You see, stories like these, they aren't just mine to tell, they belong to us all, to every memory, every first car, every long drive with the windows down and the radio playing something you never forgot. So, now I'm curious, sweetheart, what was your first car? Or, if you could go back, which one would you choose? I'd just love to hear your stories down in the comments. Truly, I would. And if this little tale brought you a smile or maybe reminded you of something special, don't forget to give it a like, share it with someone who'd enjoy a trip down memory lane, and subscribe so you can come sit with me again for another story. There's always another one waiting just around the corner. Moon.